Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am your hostess with the mostest. You can call me Zach. And one of the questions I was asked the other day by a friend, a close friend, was, will Call of Duty make a comeback? Can Activision recover its most valuable asset, which is Call of Duty? And I thought to myself, I said, Zach, is it possible to rise again like a phoenix, proverbial of course, and come back to its former glory? And I told him, after thinking about it for about half a second, no, that time has passed. Unfortunately, if you look at the bottom dollar and you look at it from a business aspect, Call of Duty as a franchise is no longer oriented towards gamers. It is no longer a passion project of the creator. It is no longer owned by Sledgehammer. It is no longer owned by Infinity Ward or Treyarch. It is owned by the corporation known as Activision, and it is their most valuable asset. And what will any corporation, organization, business, or person do? They will protect their most valuable asset at any cost and by any means necessary. And what I mean by that is they've made their money off of it, and they will continue to make their money off of this game, regardless of the player count, because the player count is subjective. Player counts come and go. And although other titles held a higher player count than Modern Warfare 2 is at this current moment, it is not a reflection of how much money this will make them. Because people will come back, update after update, season after season, and over the years, they'll still make larger profits than games without major microtransactions, without stores to constantly buy bundles and equipment that cost $20, $25, whatever. They will constantly make their money back. So Activision's looking at it like, we already made our money. They made an immense profit. More than a lot of games make off of, essentially their lifetimes to a certain degree. So why on earth would Activision, Call of Duty, Infinity Ward, Treyarch, Sledgehammer ever pull any punches or give a hoot what you as a consumer wants? Because they're not. Their assets are protected by the consumer being lied to and bamboozled over and over again. And you can look at it like, whoa, Zach, that's crazy. Why would you think like that? Why would you be so negative? And it's not a negative outlook. Nor is it a positive outlook. However, it is a realistic outlook combined with both positives and negatives over gaming and the evolution of gaming over the years and how it's been viewed and processed by people. You can look at the numbers of people playing games as it becomes more and more as people stray away from the outside world and move towards a more technical, electronic, artificial world such as gaming. Like this. It's such an addictive, overly stimulatory experience where your brain doesn't distinguish anything happening, right, from reality, because it's a game to you, but your brain sees it as something else. The chemicals going on don't recognize it. Only you do. And what that means to gamers is you're going to keep coming back, right? And I have my reasons for eventually deleting Call of Duty permanently, right, and never coming back to it unless major changes are made. And that's not from a technical standpoint like bugs or glitches, which never really bother me because I'm not a competitive gamer, nor do I really honestly care whatsoever about a completely polished, perfect game, right? Because the expectations for my expectations are extremely, extremely low when it comes to popular AAA titles. Not because I don't trust and I don't respect the level of work that's put into them, but because I don't respect these corporations and their greedy business practices. Stealing, right? It's thievery in a sense, and it's like they're holding essentially your memories hostage and telling you, you better pay us or we'll stop. And that's what they're doing, and that's how they're stealing things from you. And that's a negative approach and negative outlook, but I want you to look at it from this perspective, right? Say your favorite breakfast cereal, say it's Fruit Loops, right? But Kellogg or whoever makes it comes out and they say, whoa, that's your favorite cereal, huh? Well, we're going to change how it works completely, how it tastes. So it's so far from being Fruit Loops, you're just buying the Fruit Loop name out of nostalgia sake and hoping that it'll be like how you remember Fruit Loops to taste. but it'll never be Fruit Loops again. Your favorite cereal is no longer existent. That means it's time to either deal with how it's not what you like anymore or move on to another cereal. Enjoy another cereal. There's a lot of cereals out there. You can eat any of them. Pick a cereal you enjoy, right? That would be the smart thing for all of us to do at this point in our lives, in our gaming lives, and as a form of entertainment to us. Don't forget that. And keep that positive outlook and that realistic approach to the future of gaming. Now, I wanted to focus on something a little bit different halfway through this video, and I hope you've made it this far so you can understand my point of view to a certain degree, or at least try to respect my point of view and opinion. Now, I made a video, and it was one of my first videos of my YouTube channel talking about the beginning of woke gaming, because I hadn't noticed it until I played this game, and you could say it doesn't matter, and it's not a big deal, and you could be right, because it is just a video game. However, it's concerning because of the level of popularity that video games possess, the level of depth that they take hold on people's lives. It's rooted in a lot of kids' lives, a lot of subconscious kids' lives. Mentally, it has a large presence. So I want you to think for a quick second and put yourself in somebody else's shoes, or, adjust your laces and come to this realization that because video games and entertainment are so deeply rooted in our lives, the things that they put into these video games, the things that they create in these video games, and how they are represented are a direct reflection of how we eventually turn out if we're young and in our developmental stages, or how we are and perceive things as an adult, as it's constantly, slowly drip-fed into our minds. You don't realize it at first until it becomes so apparent it's too late to change because it's affected so many people. Right? A herd mentality, you could say, to simplify it for you. However, when I noticed I played this game, as I looked at the operators and I like to read their bios because I think the history of the characters makes them cool to a certain degree, right? Even if you can't see your character in first person mode. And I noticed that they all had to have some sort of essentially, and I hate to use this word, woke background, liberal background. They weren't warriors. They were placated, pseudo superficial people. Right? It's like almost the people who created these characters wanted to implement their own lives for equality's sake and not because this is a war game. And another fact was, besides that point, which you could get over it, who gives a heck, who's reading those anyway? They're just picking characters because they look cool. No one cares. However, there are people who do read them. There are kids who read them. And when they think that it's okay to justify being weak or lowly because instead of trying to take control of their lives and change things for a more positive outlook, They simply just lay down and accept their fate, right? Which is not a successful approach to life. And the final thing I just wanted to touch on briefly before I make another video, and this will be an extreme reason why I will be leaving Call of Duty and Activision games in general, because Activision has the final say, and they can look at something and say, change it now. Because they hold the reins. They hold the leash, the collar's tight, they can do whatever they desire. Despite the creative control that developers do have, right? Publishers have the final say. And that's the calling cards. There's 22 woke cards, LGBTRSWXYZ calling cards and your icons. And this is a war game, right? Never once did those groups of people contribute to fighting for our freedom, fighting for anyone's country, fighting for America, going to war. They were never represented, and no one stormed the battlefield waving a rainbow flag. Never once in history. It's a made-up ideology that people created freely, and it's acceptable because you can make whatever you want. But the fact that they're represented in a game where it's supposed to be representing the best and bravest of our men and women who have fought for this country, and to disrespect their honor by the only American flag in this game being one that's burning is an absolute disrespect. As someone who did serve in the United States Armed Forces, I find it extremely and totally disrespectful beyond words, right? And I never fought in war, and I never got shot at, and I never knew anyone, or I never experienced death of the battlefield in particular. However, for someone who loves their country and who has had many family members fought and die in wars over the past 100 years, I find it absolutely and tyrannically disrespectful that such people who are supposed to be representing in creating this representation spit in the memory of those people's faces by creating this environment of woke ideology to disrespect our troops. It's okay, right? But I want you to think for a second, for those groups of people who are so against American values and traditions, if there were gay flags burning all over this game, it would be insane. Put yourself in those people's shoes. They would lose their mind, right? And just understand that. But anyways, guys, that's just a little tangent. I'm going to make a few other videos explaining in depth why I believe that this gaming and this ideology seeping into the entertainment industry and the gaming world will destroy it. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a good day.